Amara didn't remember walking out of the royal dining hall. She didn't remember how she got back to the servants' quarters. All she knew was that her heart wouldn't stop pounding. Tonight, she was going to the king's chamber. For what? Everyone already knew what it meant when the king summoned a maid at night. It wasn't for palace work. The whispers had already started, slithering through the corridors like venomous snakes. She won't last a week, one sneered. He'll break her like all the others, another hissed. She should pray for her life. The words were a cold splash of water on her face. Just then, Victoria, the only maid who had shown her any kindness, pulled her into a dark alcove. "You must be careful," Victoria whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "We all heard what the king said. If he has chosen you." Amara's hands were clammy, and she squeezed them together until her knuckles turned white. Chosen for what? What does he really want from me? Victoria glanced nervously over her shoulder before leaning in. So close Amara could feel her warm breath. Her voice dropped to a shaking whisper. "They say the king, he hasn't touched a woman for almost 2 years. Why?" Amara asked, her own voice barely audible. Victoria swallowed hard. "They say every woman who has shared his bed has either run mad, disappeared, or died. Some say he's cursed. Some say he performed a forbidden ritual. Others say enough." A sharp voice cut through the air. Madame Funk, the head of the servants, had appeared behind them like a shadow. "Victoria, get back to work." Victoria bowed her head and scurried away, melting back into the darkness. Madame Funk then turned her gaze on Amara, a long, unreadable stare that seemed to pierce right through her. Without a word, she threw a small bag of fine cloth into Amara's hands. "Go to the royal bathhouse," Madame Funk ordered, her tone leaving no room for argument. "The king wants you clean before you step into his chamber tonight. Washed well. Wear what is inside that bag." "And Amara?" Amara looked up slowly, meeting the older woman's cold eyes. Madame Funk's voice dropped, laced with a chilling warning. "Do not make him angry tonight. Not even by mistake." The royal bathhouse was a breathtaking sight, a world away from the servants' drab quarters. It was carved from gleaming marble and inlaid with pure gold. Perfumed steam rose from a pool of warm, inviting water. It looked like a place where queens were made yet tonight. It felt like a place of sacrifice. With trembling fingers, Amara opened the small bag. Inside was a thin silk wrapper. It was red, soft, and utterly seductive. Her heart leaped into her throat. "This isn't clothing. This is temptation," she whispered to the empty room. But she had no choice. She slipped into the warm bath, the water a gentle caress on her smooth brown skin. For a fleeting moment, she closed her eyes and wished she could just sink beneath the surface, drown, and escape the terrifying reality that awaited her. But escape was a luxury she couldn't afford. She emerged from the water, her body glistening, and put on the red silk wrapper. It barely covered her, clinging to her curves, revealing more than it concealed. Her natural beauty, once modestly hidden, was now on full display and hidden, unprotected. She stared at her reflection in the large, ornate mirror and didn't recognize the girl staring back. That girl looked like a stranger, a woman sculpted for a king's pleasure. A lamb dressed for slaughter. A sharp knock echoed on the heavy door, making her jump. A deep, masculine voice rumbled from the other side. "The king is waiting."